Hi, everybody. It's Ryan from Pile Records. I'm here with Dan O'Mahony from No for an Answer, 411, and Shriners Club. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing okay. You know, crazy, crazy world right now, but it's nice to be able to set aside a few minutes and do things like this.
It's awesome. What before we get into the music portion, what's going on out there in California? Things opening up? Are you getting back to normal? I mean, we hear a whole bunch of different stuff is going on.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I bounce back and forth living down here between, I tend to live in Long Beach for a few years. I tend to live in Orange County for a few years. I even spent several years up in the Bay Area, right? Out of all of those places, the one that I'm probably the most recognized as a resident of is the one I'm the least politically in sync with, which is Orange County. And right now in Orange County, people are not happy with the mask requirement. People are not happy with phased reopening. Restaurants and bars try to open on the down low, try to skirt around every restriction they can. The traffic circle in the neighborhood where I live is weekly picketed with people acting as though, ridiculous signs. Mass equals slavery is common in my neighborhood,
Yeah.
which is absurd. And I tend to drive by and hold up my notebook, which says honk if you hate science, so.
So, is everybody safe there? Is anything serious been going down?
I think we're back on the climb as far as cases go, and that's not, there's this thing, and I'm sorry, we're diving right into something somewhat political as opposed to the music, and I'll try not to just disappear in that. But a lot of people try to say when they see these numbers going up that it's about testing and increased testing. Well, fuck testing. Right now, California, and particularly Southern California, we're seeing increased hospitalizations and increased deaths. So, if you want to try and find a way to argue around that or justify that your party and your pretty little lips are more important, than the body count, go for it. But you're going to lose every argument you pick with me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wise words. All right, so now we'll dive into the music. I've
Which we
been
probably
I've been following your posts, and I have to say, like, you've hit on uh everything I kind of stand for, which
that's
is
nice to hear.
part of the reason why I wanted to interview you, because we share a like mind in that way.
Cool. It's good to know.
Um,
It's funny, probably in the most apolitical band I've ever been in. The situation that inspired Shiners Club was deeply personal and had a lot to do with personal health and with exercising some personal demons. And I try to remain true to that and not draft members who were cool with joining an outfit like that into my politics. It can be a tricky lift given that the Times suddenly became uber political just within the last year.
so Shutter Club kind of came out of nowhere for me. One day I saw it up, I saw your name, and I'm like, I remember that dude. I remember the Vans sneakers on the record, and I was like, how do I know him? And I remember that album, that
Mhm.
7-inch, and from 411, and I was just like, where did these guys come from? How did you start Shiners Club, and why?
So, shit, there we go. The lubrication.
Yeah.
Um, Shiners Club was born out of a specific event, which was Colin Bias, Doug McKinnon, John Coyle, and I all intersected at knowing me. I was friends with all three of them, and we all intersected at being present at the John Bunch Memorial Show at John Bunch Forever. And I saw John Coyle that day for the first time in decades, and was kind of inspired with who he had grown up to be and how he was carrying himself. I had kind of a different perception of him when he was a kid. I saw Doug, who was a fellow Long Beach native at that point, and always good for a good time. Colin and I had promised each other more than 20 years before that when we were on tour in Europe together, and Mean Season was opening for No for an Answer, that we would start a band at some point together because I've always just been a huge fan of his stage presence. So I was in a band called Done Dying at the time. No for an Answer also played that day. No for an Answer at the time still open to doing, benefits and unpaid performances. At this point, I think we can safely rule out No for an Answer playing at all. But anyway, I'm meandering. John kind of caught my imagination. And Doug and I had done music before. He played drums on one of my favorite albums, which was the Speak LP. And, I reconnected with, I saw Colin that day. And Colin and I had always been supposed to do music. So over the course of the next couple months, when what was going on in my life made me want to scream in kind of a different way than what I was doing in this band, Done Dying, those three names kept bouncing around in my head. Then one day, John Coyle and I on the phone talking about completely different things, and we were both already in bands, and he spat out the idea. He says, I'm surprised we've never done anything together. Seems like if we did something together at this point in life, it would be really visceral and really unexpected and really freak people out. And I was like, speak my language. And I told him, I said, I may have the guys. I said, give me a little while. I think it took an hour to assemble the band. I think, I talked to John that afternoon and knew who our lineup would be before the sun was down.
So the stuff is really gritty, really reminiscent. I get a Black Flag feel from it, but although it's got a personality of its own, but it's really gritty like that. How would you describe it?
I'm learning not to get mad when people say that because I know it's valid. I know the comparison's valid. I absolutely do. I hear it in the guitar. I hear it in the choice of subject matter. I hear it in the desperation. But what's funny about it is, Rollins has been a hero of mine my whole life, right? He's one of, 5 or 6 people who, I think after Rollins' band did their first 2 tours, I never owned another pair of shorts that were black cargo shorts. I haven't worn T-shirts with logos since 87, since probably 88 or 89.